Hi everyone, welcome back. Today's video is going to be on limited edition or discontinued makeup palettes that I still love and use very frequently. Now I know talking about these kinds of products are considered taboo in the beauty world just because, for example, you as a viewer can't go out and buy it, but a lot of us have these items in our collections and some of us forget to use them. So I want to, shine a light on some of these products that even though they are no longer available, they're still very much loved. The first one is one that I'm sure if you've been around for the last few months, I feel like I've talked about it a lot. It's the Urban Decay Electric Palette. Now this was a permanent product, I mean everything goes discontinued at some point or another, but it was a permanent product for Urban Decay a few years ago, and it was marketed as a pressed pigment palette, which I think threw a lot of people off because they're like, oh no, it's not eye safe. Well, it's only in the US that these are considered not safe for the eyes. These are fine to wear on the eyes in Europe, and I have not encountered any problems personally. But I was so excited when Urban Decay came out with this because it's something super vibrant and it's not something we see every single day. And to me, this is what Urban Decay is all about. Their recent trend of naked and nude stuff is relatively new for the brand. They used to be known for grungy, dirty, colorful makeup, but when the naked palettes took off, they kind of like changed their path in makeup, I guess you could say. But to me, this is like old school, original Urban Decay type makeup, something vibrant, different, and fun. And I never get tired of using this palette. I've mentioned before, but if I get uninspired with my makeup for any reason, I grab for this palette and only use this palette and create something bold and beautiful on my eyes, and it's something new every single time. So I am so sad that it's discontinued. However, you can still find it at some Nordstrom racks in the US. I have not found it at Nordstrom rack in Canada, but in the US you can still get this, and for like a super low price. I think it's only like 20 bucks. Well worth picking up if you ever have the opportunity to. Because seriously, these are incredible. The pigmentation is unreal. Like probably one of the best pigmented palettes that I own, bar none. The colors are vibrant and fun. It really makes you put together a look that you would potentially not have created with any other palette on the market. So I always go back to this one, and I'm just so glad that I own it. And I honestly want a backup, but let's be real, I'm not gonna run out of eyeshadow anytime soon, so I need to not buy a backup. But if I ever run out of this palette, I will be very sad. Sticking with Urban Decay, I have to talk about the Vice 3 palette. This was hands down my favorite Vice palette. I just feel like the color collection in here was so perfect for them. It's arranged really pleasingly on the eyes too. It goes from like a neutral row of mattes here to like a blue kind of green one, well, this one's a bit of a mishmash, but the purple, bronze, and brown. And then you've got like a pink rust column as well as a kind of neutral sparkly one. This was a huge hit in my opinion, and I don't think they ever really recovered from how good Vice 3 was. Vice 4 came out, I bought it, and I was just not impressed. The color selection was kind of muted and not very inspiring. I feel like they like hit pinnacle with this one, and then after that it's just like, forget it, don't even bother. Vice 4 was not a hit. It went on sale, I'm pretty sure, and then I don't think they ever had a Vice 5. So for me, this was the pinnacle of Vice palettes by Urban Decay. The pigmentation was excellent all across the board, I think, except for Last Sin, which turned out to be like a little bit chunky or flaky. But the rest of them, the colors are so freaking good. I still go back to this palette. And I find that surprising because this was a launch maybe 4 years ago, maybe even 5. So freaking good, and a great travel palette too, because this mirror up here is absolutely enormous. I used to actually set this up as my main mirror for doing my makeup when I lived in my old place and I was doing my makeup standing up, because the quality of the mirror is excellent and it's enormous. Another palette that I've talked about ad nauseum because it is so good is the Tarte Off The Cuff palette, and this came out for holidays 2013, I think. And the reason I like this so much is not only is it sleek, compact packaging, which makes it perfect for travel, and I know a lot of people say, perfect travel palette, blah, blah, blah. but it is sleek, compact, has a big mirror, but it's also got 4 blushes and a bronzer, and we do not see this enough in makeup, and I really wish that more brands would take after this. So the blushes in here are enough of a varied tone where I feel like if I'm bringing this on vacation with me, I don't feel like I'm restricted, which can be a huge problem when I'm traveling. I hate bringing like a single blush, and trying to make sure that I've got enough variety for all the makeup looks that I'm gonna come out with. This one has a coral, a kind of mauve shade, a bit of more of an orange neutral, and a pink alongside a bronzer. I can't even tell you how many times I've traveled with this because it's probably in the dozens of times at this point. I always go back to this thing just because it's so easy, and I really like the quality of Tarte's products. The bronzer is so easy to blend. The blushes are also equally good. I do find that Tarte blushes in general tend to be a little bit stiffer, so I do go in with a dual fiber brush to make sure that I get the pigmentation that I want. But they look beautiful on the cheeks, and it's such a friendly palette to bring around with you. There's no like excess packaging. It's flimsy, which maybe not everybody loves, but I feel like it makes it very easy to bring around with you. And the colors are the best assortment that I have ever seen to bring on vacation with me, because I can do something that's cool tone and use the pink. I can do something more coral and warm and use this coral shade up here. And if I'm just coming out with a basic neutral look, the 2 in the middle are perfect for the cheeks. I'm so pleased with this palette. I wish that they would come out with more of these. I know they've released more blush palettes, but to my knowledge, they've never actually released another one with a bronzer in it. So if they could do that again, that'd be great. And even better, throw in a highlighter. And the brand that I saved for last is Too Faced, which many of you will know is one of my favorite brands. The one that definitely is my oldest Too Faced product and one of my most loved is the A Few of My Favorite Things palette. Also from Holidays 2013. I feel like Holidays 2013 was a knockout year. There was just so many good products out that year. So this enormous palette has 20 eyeshadows, 2 bronzers, and 2 blushes. And the thing that's so incredible about this, aside from the fact that you get an enormous amount of product, but also the variety in the eyeshadows. There's a lot of neutral, but they kind of only fill up like half the palette. I feel like there's a substantial amount of color in here, which is very important for me. I want to see a lot of color in my eyeshadow. And you've got enough colorful, deep tones that are matte or satin. That is so important for me. Blue satin sashes, soiree, and well, Pure Glam is a black. These are the kind of dark tones that I want to see in colors that I can use on the outer corner of my eye to really like emphasize any eye look. Oh yeah, and Evergreen here too. That's a little bit more of a shimmer shade, but it's deep enough that you can get away with putting it in your outer corner and not looking too shimmery. The colors in here are just beautiful. Tinsel down here shocked the hell out of me the first time I used it. I was like, what are you? You're gorgeous. It's a little bit more of a bronzy silver with a little bit of gold in it. I know that's a weird description, but that is kind of how it behaves. Bluff is wild. My mom loves that shade. She made me try to find a dupe for it, and I did find one in Inglot. I go back to this palette all the time, like several times a month. So I think that's impressive because I got this like 5 years ago at this point, and it's still a really important palette in my collection. The next one is one of my top Too Faced palettes. It's the Stardust palette by Vegas Nay. And I didn't know who the heck Vegas Nay was. I just knew that I liked Too Faced and I wanted to pick up one of their limited edition palettes when I was originally just getting into the brand. This was only available at Ulta, which made it a little bit difficult to get. I had to send it to my friend in New York and pick it up when I was on vacation visiting her one time. And this was so good. So good. It looks so bland in the pans, like basic neutral palette with like your row of purples and a gold. But for whatever reason, the combination in here and the tones and the way that they apply is so good on the eyes. I've mentioned before that I go back to this palette when I know I want to look good and like maybe a little bit more natural instead of colorful on the eyes. So I've reached for this palette a shocking amount of times because I did not think that I was going to be that enthusiastic about it just because the color range did not seem that appealing to me initially. But oh man, I go back to this constantly and I'm always so pleased with how I look when I wear this eyeshadow palette. So To this day, I still don't really know who Vegas Nay is. I think she might be famous on Instagram, but like that's all I know about her. But she knows how to put together an eyeshadow palette, so I really treasure this one. Now the last palette is very strange that is limited edition because it's part of Too Faced chocolate bar range and it's their white chocolate bar. Now their other chocolate bars sell quite well, so I really don't know why this one was only around for I feel like a month. But I picked it up because I wanted to add it to my collection. But honestly, I was a little bit nervous when I got it because I was like, you are so pale. I don't know how you're gonna work very well on my skin because I feel like there's not enough tonal depth in here when I originally got it. I did post a review on it. I will link that down below. In the end, I quite liked it. And honestly, I'm still reaching for this palette and it's months later at this point. For me, I reach for this mostly when I need lid shades or transition colors. So Exotica, Indulge, and Sugared Raisin are something that I go back to all the time just for a lid color. And then Mint Chocolate and Frosted Apricot, also in Cake Batter up there, are ones that I will put in the crease a lot. Also, very surprising about this palette, this black sugar color down here, I reach for it all the time. I have a lot of blacks in my collection and I really couldn't tell you why I reach for this one other than the fact that it seems to work on top of other eyeshadows so well. It's mostly a matte black with a little bit of silver sparkle in it. I don't feel like the sparkle really translates on the eyes, but the formula on this black works out so well on top of other eyeshadows that I reach for this one so consistently, which makes me laugh too because like, hello, white chocolate bar, and I'm reaching for the black eyeshadow in here. So I don't tend to reach for these darker tones over here just because I don't feel like the quality was as good on those. But for lid shades, transition colors, this palette is such a gem. And again, I really don't understand why this was limited edition. Seems a little bit strange. So those are all the limited edition and discontinued eyeshadow palettes that and a blush palette, that I still reach for constantly. I have used every single one of these palettes in the last month, and month after month I still continue to reach for them. And I think that's important. We can't just all love the latest item on the market. So I would encourage you to look into your collection and maybe, you know, pull out the things that you haven't used as much recently but you remember loving intensely before and, you know, bring them out, use them again. You don't need to be using the latest item. So that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching today's video and I will see you next time. Bye.